Would you apologize to your followers if you find out as a leader that you've been leading your followers astray? Can you stand before your congregation of thousands and tell them, I am sorry, I have been leading you the wrong way? Well, this happened with one of the popular Nigerian pastor, Dr. Abel Damina. Wait, let me tell you about the transition of Dr. Abel Damina, how he went from the famous professor of the prosperity message to someone who is now strongly opposing it. Dr. Abel Damina is the founder and senior pastor of Power City International, aka Abel Damina Ministry International, ADMI, located at Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. He was known to be the famous prosperity preacher in Nigeria. He teaches that if you need anything from God, you have to bring money to get it.
If you are not a tither, devourers will live in your house. So when you pay your tithe, I, Jehovah, I will rebuke the devourer. I'm believing God for money, I sow money. I'm believing God for a car, I sow money. I'm believing God for a job, I sow money. I'm believing God for promotion, I sow money. I'm believing God for a wife, I sow money. I'm believing God for a husband, I sow money. I'm believing God for children, I sow money.
He can literally collect money from anybody when he stands to preach the prosperity message.
I am the Baba for prosperity. You all know me. I can collect money from Satan. If Satan appears, I can collect money from him.
He proposed that the work of Jesus is finished, but that you still have to do something to get it.
Somebody says, so why will I sow money if I'm believing God for wife? You want to sow wife? Do you have? Somebody say, why money? Because money answereth. As long as the earth remaineth, seed time harvest shall not cease. The works were finished, but there are things we must do to make those works that Jesus did for us manifest in our lives. You're believing God for promotion, so money. You're believing God for car, so money. You're believing God for wife, so money. You're believing God for children, so money. So when you start praying, once you have put your seed down and you start calling the things that be not as though they were, the seed with your words combined together will produce manifestation.
But now he recognizes that all of that is fraud, saying that a believer needs to bring something to receive what Jesus provided for free is an insult to the work of redemption.
He didn't supply you grace expecting anything in return. So when a man of God says give money to be blessed, it's an insult to the work of redemption.
But what prompted the transition? What made him to stop promoting the prosperity gospel, as some may call it? Dr. Abel Damina has been a proponent of this gospel for several years, but after preaching this for several years, he became empty and totally unfulfilled.
After preaching for several years, I became empty. I became empty and unfulfilled.
Life became meaningless for him. He even thought life was up for him. There was no more joy, no excitement. He was no longer looking for anything. He asked God if this was all there is to ministry. Preach, raise money, be happy, promise people things he knows it was literally impossible.
Say to God, is this all that there is to ministry? Preach, raise money, be happy? Is that all? Collect money, raise money, promise people things that I know is not Bible?
So he left church with his wife, Dr. Rachel Damina, to take 2 weeks off to pray. At the end of these 2 weeks, he felt like reading and went to a bookshelf and saw Andrew Womack's book. He didn't like Andrew Womack because he thought he was a lazy preacher because of how slow he speaks, because he literally liked energetic preachers. But he packed all of his books but didn't read it. They came back to Uyo, Nigeria, went to preach again and felt emptier. So he traveled again and went to Dubai for another retreat just to pray for another 2 weeks. He went to pray and seek himself. By then, he already has cars, he already have money, and could preach anywhere around the world, but wasn't fulfilled. At the end of the 2 weeks in Dubai, he still did not get anything, so they got on the aircraft to travel back. In that journey, he took 2 Andrew Womack's books with him, but didn't read them. While in the plane, he felt like doing something, so he took his book and read only 8 pages of the book, and his heart opened.
I read only 8 pages and my heart opened.
He saw where he missed it, so he brought out his note and pen and studied the 2 books he took. So he came back and took more books and went for another vacation to study and pray. On this trip, he discovered that the factor that was missing in his message was Christ. He then realized and recognizes that even though he teaches and talks about Christ in his message, the basic fact of the gospel of Christ was missing. When he got back to Uyo, he apologized to his congregation and said sorry for teaching them the wrong things which he ought not to teach them. So he started teaching what he knew was right, but a huge percentage of the church left him at that moment.
Even when I was preaching that prosperity gospel, I knew enough to advise myself that man is not my source, God is my source. So because I didn't look up to men, I looked up to God, I switched without struggle. And when I switched, half of this church left. Over half left. Yet I was preaching like nobody has left.
He had to start his ministry afresh after building a structure for so many years. But he didn't mind restructuring and losing everything so long as his wife was his great supporter. So when he got back, he started a program called 30 Days of Glory, the Soteria season. He started preaching the grace of Jesus Christ and what Jesus has done in his death, burial, and resurrection. He started preaching salvation and the revelation of Jesus Christ. Then he started having peace of mind and fulfillment. After several years of consistently teaching this truth, many people who left saw him and started coming back. He started gaining followers all over the world.
Psalm 91. $91 for 91 blessings is an insult on the work of grace.
He continued this for some time, and in a little while, he was everywhere preaching and teaching Christ and against the very core thing he was a proponent of. This is his persuasion and conviction, and this is what he goes around the whole world sounding. And this brings me back to the question I asked earlier. What will you do if you were in his shoes? Will you apologize to your audience and tell them you are sorry and start afresh and be willing to lose everything? This is not easy at all. That is why such humility is worth speaking about. So share this story, let others see this, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.